My own daughter-in-law once looked me in the eye and said, "You are useless. You're nothing." That was the moment my whole world stopped. I had given everything to my family, my time, my love, my health, and yet the people I loved most had turned me into a stranger in my own home. This is my story. I live in a small town in Texas. For most of my life, I believed my home was my kingdom, my family, my treasure. I raised my only son alone after his father passed away. I worked double shifts at a diner to pay his school fees. I sewed his clothes by hand, packed his lunch every morning, and prayed every night that he would grow up kind and strong. And he did. At least, that's what I thought. When my son got married, I felt like my prayers had been answered. His wife was polite at first. She smiled at me, called me mom, and promised she would take care of me just like her own mother. I believed her. I opened my heart to her. I gave them the biggest bedroom in my house. I cooked their favorite meals. I even sold some of my jewelry to help them with a down payment on their first car. But slowly, things began to change. Little things at first. She would roll her eyes when I spoke. She would whisper to my son in another room. She would sigh loudly when I asked for help with groceries. I tried to ignore it. I told myself, she's young. She's stressed. She'll change. But instead of changing, her cruelty grew sharper. One afternoon, while I was folding laundry in the living room, she walked in and snatched a towel out of my hand. "You're doing it wrong," she said. "Everything you do is old-fashioned. You don't know how to run a house." Her words stung, but I stayed quiet. I thought silence was strength. I thought patience would protect me. But patience only fed her disrespect. Soon she stopped hiding her insults. She started telling my son that I was lazy, that I was a burden. And my son, my beautiful boy, he believed her. He stopped sitting with me at dinner. He stopped asking how my day had been. He started looking at me as if I was an inconvenience. Then came the day I'll never forget. It was a hot July afternoon. I had been feeling sick all morning, dizzy, feverish, weak. I asked my daughter-in-law for a glass of water. She looked at me and said, "I'm busy. Do it yourself." I tried to stand up but fainted right there on the kitchen floor. When I woke up, my son was standing over me, his face blank. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't help me up. He just said, "Mom, you're making things hard for us. Maybe you should think about moving out." Those words cut deeper than any insult. Move out? From the house I built? From the walls that carried every photo, every memory of his childhood? I felt my heart break in a way it had never broken before. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator, thinking about every sacrifice I had made. I thought about the nights I walked to work in the snow so he wouldn't miss a field trip at school. I thought about the years I went without new clothes so he could have his first car. And now, here I was, unwanted, unloved, unseen. But as the darkness stretched on, something inside me shifted. I realized that if I didn't stand up for myself now, I would spend the rest of my life shrinking smaller and smaller until I disappeared completely. And I wasn't ready to disappear. The next morning, before anyone woke up, I packed a small bag. I put my Bible inside. I put a photo of my son as a little boy inside, and I walked out. I went to the small church at the end of our street. It had always been there, but I had stopped visiting. That morning I sat in the back pew and cried quietly. An older woman came and sat beside me. Her name was Martha. She didn't ask me what was wrong. She just held my hand. That simple act gave me more strength than I can explain. Martha invited me to a community lunch later that week. I met other women, widows, mothers, grandmothers, each carrying their own private pain. We cooked together, laughed together, prayed together. For the first time in years, I felt like I belonged somewhere. With their encouragement, I applied for a part-time job at the library. It wasn't much, but it gave me independence. I started knitting again, something I had loved before life became so heavy. People in the town began to know me for my warm smile and kind words. Slowly, the emptiness inside me began to fill with light. Months passed. I didn't hear from my son. At first, it broke me. Every time the phone rang, I hoped it was him, but I kept living. I kept showing up at the library. I kept cooking for community lunches. I kept being me. Then one evening, just as the sun was setting, there was a knock at my door. I opened it, and there stood my son, his eyes red from crying. He said, "Mom, I'm sorry." He told me that he had finally seen the truth, that his wife had been manipulating him, that he had allowed her cruelty to poison his heart. He said he had come to take me home. I looked at him, at the boy I had raised, at the man who had hurt me, and I realized something. Home isn't always where you raised your family. Sometimes home is the place you build for yourself after you've been broken. Sometimes home is a new life you choose when the old one stops loving you back. I told him I forgave him. I told him I loved him. But I also told him I wasn't ready to return. I needed time. I needed space to keep growing into this new version of myself. He nodded. He understood. Today, I still live in that small town. I still work at the library. I still knit scarves for the community center. And every Sunday, I sit in the same back pew of the church where Martha first held my hand. My son visits me now. He comes alone, humble, grateful. He helps serve lunch at the community center. We are building a new relationship, slower, kinder, truer. And my daughter-in-law? She has moved on. I don't hate her. I don't wish her harm, because if it weren't for her cruelty, I might never have found my own strength. I might never have learned that even when the people you love break you, you can stand up again. You can build a new life. You can be more than what they call you. This is my story, and if you're listening, and if you've ever felt unwanted in your own home, I want you to know you are not useless. You are not nothing. You are still here, and that means you still have a chance to choose yourself and to write a new chapter, just like I did.